Hello, and welcome back to If There's a Hell Below, conversation number 2. I'm here with producer Justin Schardin. How you doing, Justin?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good. We're at day 5, I think, of our crowdfunding campaign on Seed and Spark. So
Yeah.
I invite people to contrast my appearance in the first video with my appearance now. See how healthy I look, how the hours are treating me. So quick update on the campaign. It's been going very well. We had the typical big boost at the beginning, which is not to say we take it for granted, but that's kind of the pattern these things take. And we're definitely entering the slower middle period. And the challenge for us is to make sure we're still spreading the word and keeping people excited and having new things to share about the film and the production as we go through that. So we're not counting on a big exciting boost at the end, which is generally the two most active periods, that we're close at the end rather than, wow, we have to make up half of it. So I'm probably going to post like an actual chart, but here's a little chart of where things stand. The black line is where we are. The red dots are where we need to be. So on Tuesday, the way these patterns go, we'd really like to be at 30%. And I think we're at 21 or 22% as we record this. I'm going to post this a day later. So we're in the ballpark of where we need to be, but it's not nothing we take for granted. So
that's a high-tech graphic.
Yeah.
You can see that we're not wasting money on those things.
Yes, there's no...
It says horizontal axis.
It still says horizontal axis title.
Yes.
I'm going to post like an actual graphic of that graph, maybe updated with the data tomorrow.
I think it's a plus.
So for those of you who have contributed, thank you so much. It's huge, and it's wonderful to have those contributions early in the period because they show the vitality of our project, and people who may not be share my last name, showing up saying, oh, this project's going somewhere, it has some momentum, not you show up and it's at 2% and you think, as neat as this looks, they're never going to get there. So we certainly appreciate that, and please keep spreading the word about it, and we'll do it.
Because just everybody contribute to this is going to be a great project. Already is.
And if you have contributed or you cannot for some reason, which understandable, you can follow us on the page, which is great. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter if you are a Twitterer, and let other people know, because someone you may know may be able to contribute when you can't, or contribute more than you, or may be able to let someone else know about it.
If your assets have been frozen overseas, we accept gold.
Yes. I'll have our lawyer check it.
We'll find a way.
You find the Swiss bank account they can send the gold to.
Sure.
To elaborate on who you are, Justin, you are a producer on the film, but you are not a motion picture careerist yet.
Right.
I'm going to lure you in to the incredibly lucrative movie business.
Yeah.
But right now you work at the center?
I work at a think tank, yes, and I've had a few other careers, and have just been a big movie fan for many years. And you and I have had many discussions about what we like. We tend to have some similar tastes.
Yeah, we have a healthy amount of crossover in our Venn diagram.
Right. So yeah, I mean, the fact that my best working relationship I've ever had was with you certainly made this exciting to try again and just see what ways I could help from 3,000 miles away. For people wondering out there, what makes a Nathan Williams movie? What's your brand?
I wish I had a brand that if you say Nathan Williams, people are like, oh, I know exactly what that means. But I think there's some commonalities in my work, and there's certainly the same things motivate my work. I like to think of all my movies in a way as detective films, in that the viewer is often the detective. I don't try to make frustrating esoteric movies. I don't want to I'm not trying to be oblique to show off, but I like to invite people to look beneath the surface of things and find depth and wonder. The characters aren't always saying exactly what they mean, and I'm hardly unique in this, but that's kind of what interests me. Often scenes in a movie, in movies I make, what the people are saying is the least important part of it, and sometimes it's the most important. There's no one rule, but I like to offer sort of complexity that invites people to dig into it and to think about it, and ideally to rewatch it. I'm not trying to be Captain Beefheart, where you have to watch a movie 40 times to get it. But I'd like to make movies that are better the second time or the third time or the fourth time. And my favorite movies are almost always like that.
So if I'm going to make an analogy to comedy, you're not interested in somebody getting hit in the head with a hammer. You're interested in a joke you have to think about a little bit.
Yeah, or I mean, there's the hit in the head with a hammer, but in the background of that same shot, there's somebody reacting to it that's subtle and interesting at the same time. I rarely have good guys or bad guys. There's people who do bad things or good things, but I like to explore who those people are and not necessarily explain them in terms of excuse them, but see them as complete human beings.
Let me ask it this way. What do people say stylistically your films remind them of?
I tend to have a fairly classical style. People seem to say that I often will hold wide shots longer than most people. I have a fairly classical editing style. I compose in depth, that there's a foreground and a background, and this is not exclusively me, but that I don't, I'm not using really long lenses. I'm not being very cutty. I don't use score a lot, which is not a classical thing. That's a fairly kind of modern thing. That I have musical sequences generally, or nothing. I rarely have a scene where people are doing something, speaking to each other, where there's score in the background.
Mm-hmm. You sort of let it speak for itself.
Yeah, I mean, when there's music, I want you to pay attention to the music, and when there's not, I mean, when there's the scene's happening, I don't want music to be distracting from it. Yeah. And that's appropriate to my style. I love films that use score a lot, and I love films that do very different things. I mean, those are my perceptions of my style. I certainly invite people watching this, if you haven't watched my shorts. A number of them are on this YouTube channel that you may be watching this on. Many are on Vimeo. Check them out. I hope you like them.
Dinner Table, Things Left Behind.
CB,
right.
Nightstand.
Right.
Those are the publicly available ones.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier than that, Rougher.